Baptist Community Ministries started as an impossible dream of a Baptist missionary named Clementine Kelly in 1912. She came here seeing the impossible conditions of New Orleans and decided from that moment that we needed a new hospital. And that hospital was contributed to by people of all faiths for several years, but it was successful. And in 1924, we opened our doors as Southern Baptist Hospital.
Baptist Community Ministries started as a hospital. Over the years, it has evolved into much, much more.
Years ago, when we started in 1924, we were a hospital with patients. What changed since then is the need of the community, and we have just followed along with that.
Today, BCM is the largest private foundation in Louisiana and has donated hundreds of millions of dollars to nonprofit organizations in the community.
We have donated to nonprofit organizations in the community just since 1995, more than $150 million. We've donated it so that our children learn through schools that work. We've donated it because we want safe streets, we want healthy citizens, and we want a government we can trust.
The story of how BCM has changed lives dates back to the hospital's earliest days. For 70 years, Southern Baptist Hospital served New Orleans as one of the premier medical institutions in the city, a reputation that was further solidified when it merged with Mercy Hospital in 1993. But hospital care was changing, and by the mid-1990s, New Orleans had too many empty hospital beds and shuttered wings. The Mercy Baptist Board explored options by concluding that selling the hospital made the most sense in terms of helping the institution fulfill its historical mission. Thus, BCM was reborn, a private foundation with both grant-making and operating components that are grounded in a mission that is both physical and spiritual.
The mission of Baptist Community Ministries is to reflect the love of God through His gift of Jesus Christ in a way that captures the physical, spiritual, and mental health of the people living in New Orleans. We're focused on community wellness, and our business is to live that mission through 4 zones of activity: health, education, public safety, and government oversight.
To maximize its financial strength in the most conservative way possible, the BCM Board of Trustees hired a financial consulting firm which referred it to other experts in financial matters involving both bonds and stocks. Together, they decided to invest 60% of the funds in a variety of different stock categories and 40% in bonds.
They really deliberated long and hard about how to structure the board, how to use the proceeds from the hospital, how to make it all work, and we are the beneficiaries today of all of that hard work and that groundwork that they laid to make sure that things were done appropriately. All we've done is build on that.
Next came the challenge of how best to utilize its resources, how best to help the people of New Orleans. The board again turned to experts to do a community needs assessment. They also held their own meetings with key businesses and political leaders in the community, gathering their opinions on what was most needed.
We tend not to fund bricks and mortar type requests, but things that are less tangible and things that we think can continue to thrive after we have not continued to fund.
The whole recreation process took more than a year and evolved through a process of elimination that resulted in the 4 zones on which BCM has focused its grant-making: education, healthcare, public safety, and governmental oversight.
I think education is probably one of the most important things in a city, in the life of an individual, in the life of a family. I come from an education background in terms of my parents both being educators. And unless a child is educated, he cannot succeed. And if you cannot succeed, you cannot achieve economically what your potential might be. And so BCM's focus on education certainly was in line with what I think is important in life.
A key component of BCM's approach to grant making is that it is very strategic. It simultaneously keeps tight rein on its funding and an eye on the long-term outcome of its work. Grant recipients are closely monitored, which has enabled the foundation to determine where it is making a very real difference and to track where its dollars are being most effective.
BCM started out, I believe, under the radar and making smaller grants. As we've grown, we've learned to do a better job in grant making. We've moved more to strategic grants in some areas, and those I think we will see producing fruit many years down the road.
We've had some really successful programs that we have supported, both financially and with human capital, that we donate to the effort. In doing so, what we see is immunizations for hundreds of thousands of children throughout this region that would not have been immunized, at least as early as we did, left to their own devices. We have organized a training program for leadership that produced more than 180 trained school principals in how to run a better school. Our belief was that if you have great leaders, you can have great schools. In the health clinics, we have helped organize a number of federally qualified health clinics, which ups the ante on their revenue stream. It makes them more survivable. So as we help them get that status, they earn more and last longer. We've helped everyone from police departments to district attorneys to groups of judges all reorganize or have the time and the space to rethink how they're organized in a way that is a best practice. The outcomes are faster dockets. The outcomes are more visibility and transparency.
In the years since Hurricane Katrina, BCM's support of charter schools and social service agencies in the community has proven especially invaluable. In the wake of the storm, the board recognized it had a significant role to play in rebuilding New Orleans.
It was awful. So I'm not going to minimize the negative effects of Hurricane Katrina. But had we not had Hurricane Katrina, it would not have drawn our attention to 3 or 4 things that we really immediately focused on. We started an emergency housing program. We started emergency feeding lines. We put emergency clothing systems in place. And those were all for the short term. Then immediately on the heels of that, we started pumping money and time into charter schools because we could see they were going to be the comeback solution for educating our kids.
But there's much work still to do. As it looks forward to the next 15 years and beyond, BCM wants to hone its focus on strategic grant making, tying projects together that have a natural synergy and logically belong together. It is also developing an interest in advocating for changes to outdated public policies to ensure that evidence-based programs that make a real difference get government support.
I hope we sharpen our toolkit in advocacy so that public policies, regulations, laws, practices that basically impede our growth as an economy, our training of our children, our migration from an old, tired city to one that's vibrant and attractive to new entrepreneurs. I think that is going to be a major challenge for us, and we need to get good at that.
But it will continue to do so, always with its eye on the mission of service and the belief that by working together, man can make a difference.